Council Barton, absent Council Cahill, present Council O'Connor, absent Council Jacutis, present Council Calucci, absent Council Creighton, present Council Seer, present Council Ford, present Council Lozey, present Council Net, present Council Trahan, present.
Welcome everyone. We're going to call up the department heads to give a 3 to 5 minutes spiel about their proposed FY15 budgets. Yes, in the spirit of saving time, we ask for you to adhere to the 3 to 5 minute protocol. As we get closer to the 8 o'clock time, we'll have our full committee meeting and a public hearing. What we'll do is we'll stop calling up individual department heads, and we'll defer to any councilors should they have any questions for any remaining department heads that have not presented. Sound good? So be faster, basically. A bit in the past. We're going to go in order of size. So I'd like to just call up Dr. Lynn from the school department first. Looks like Kevin McHugh, the business manager, is here as well. You can just go to the podium. You don't have to come in here anymore. And in fact, folks, if you want to move up closer to the front, it'll be a lot faster for everybody. You want to get up and walk all the way down, don't worry. The cameras reach the entire hall anyway.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Due to a modest increase in Chapter 7 funding this year, we were able to add to our budget, and that was all due to increases in our enrollment. So if you look this over and are able to compare it to last year's budget, we have included step and column money for step and column increases for our teachers. We have mandatory increases in English as a second language that for our ELL students, they're mandatory as regulated by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. We have included mandatory increases in inclusion support for our students with special needs. This year we had to move into the regular budget salaries that were formerly included in the Ed Jobs and the SF grants from a few years ago. We rolled over some of that money for multiple years, and now that money is gone. We have some increases that you will see in there in nursing costs, in outside placement costs for students with special needs, increases in our transportation, and we have added additional teachers to address class size issues and regular education support. So basically that's it. Our class size number at the elementary school remains not beyond 28, with most classes at around 25. High school, secondary, a little bit different.
Thank you, Dr. Latham. Any questions from the council? Seeing none, thank you, Dr. Latham. We'd ask everyone else that if you want to stick around for the 8 o'clock public hearing just in case there may be some questions from the council. Police Chief Puppitt.
Good evening. In the interest of time, I'll just kind of make it short and sweet but direct. Our FY15 budget as compared to the FY14 budget will be approximately $1,055,000 less. That's going to make we have to make some substantial cuts with the departments. We're going to put less cops on the street. We first went through the budget. Some of those costs coming on the expense side of the budget would be about $150,000, which is going to leave us about $900,000 to take out of the payroll side. We have our plan is to eliminate or at least postpone hiring 8 positions. We're authorized for 193 staffing levels. If we get below 185, we're starting to jeopardize some of our federal grants where we have to pay back some grant money. So we have 5 recruits now who we're trying to process. We're all set to offer them a conditional offer of employment. We're going to put that all on hold. And then we have 3 expected retirees coming up probably by this August. So that'll be the 8 bodies. That'll be a piece of that. And to make up the remaining deficits, the initial plan was to take the school resource officers, of which there are 4, and the community liaison team, which there are 6 patrolmen and 1 sergeant, and eliminate those positions and put them back on the patrol division. The only other place I can cut to recoup this type of a deficit is to reduce overtime on patrol, and we do that by putting more bodies back on shifts. When I proposed that, I did have a meeting with Mayor Kennedy and Superintendent Latham. At their request, made an arrangement with the school department. For the courtesy of Superintendent Latham and the school department, they're going to reimburse us for the cost of the school resource officers. So they will remain in place tentatively if this all goes through. Right now, it's a verbal agreement, but if we get that money that we're trying to arrange, they'll be back in the schools on the first day of school this fall. The Student Police Academy, which we normally run in the summertime, was in limbo. We are going to maintain that. We're going to reduce staffing on it and just try to shuffle some bodies in house to keep that going, but we will do that this year. But just because it's so late, it would be unfair to the kids who are looking forward to it to cut it this late. But going forward, the other cuts are going to be about $75,000 out of our training budget, which will affect some of the mandated state training that police officers have to do each year, which is 40 hours on a variety of topics. And some of the mini task forces we do from time to time to offset spikes in crime, increased gang activity, increased drug activity, etc. like that. Sad part about this, is going to be upfront with you, crime has been down. We've had these assets, we've had these programs in place for a number of years, and they've been successful. Crime over the last 5 years is down 10%, and crime for the first 5 years of this month versus the first 5 years of last year is down an additional 10%. We'll do our best. I understand the reasons for this, but I don't want to get anybody involved, so there will be less cops in the street. The CLT program, which I know the majority of you, if not all of you, have called several times to get those officers to do something. It's a tremendous program. It's proactive. It gets the problems out before they become problems. It's also reactive for us because we have time to fix some of the ongoing problems that we have trouble dealing with. So that's what it is.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the council? Council Seer.
Question.
No, they do, and even some of the functions you have here in the hall, and the shows downstairs, the CLTs are out there, the big old green uniforms. It's a presence, and that's what we try to do. That's part of our program, is put more cops on the street. Make sure they're seen, so people feel safe when they come to Lynn. Whether they go into a restaurant, to a business, or a show here at the hall, we want people to feel safe. And it's tough to lose them, but if I retain them, I would have to cut cars off the vision, which is less responsive to folks who got 911. I cannot do that.
Council Ford.
Thank you, Chief. For all you do. I wanted to echo what Darren said. Tito, our guy up in Ward 7, gets involved in the graffiti. He's got numerous favors for me, the residents of Ward 7. And absolutely, I would not want to see us losing the CLT officers or any police officers. I hope the council will be sure at some point if the chief has to come back, they will be supportive of keeping we have on the street there, they're very important. One step forward to see this table, let's keep it going. Thank you, Chief, for the work.
Any other questions? City Councilor Net and then Councilor Clement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, this will physically lay out all the criminal officers, just got some officers.
I'm sorry, Councilman, could you repeat that?
Okay, this will affect, okay, so this cut, so will face a layoff officer or?
No, right now we have 188 officers working today. We have another 5 that we're ready to offer in a position in the police academy that will bring us back up to the 193. Then we're going to put them on hold. We have 3 more retirements coming up this summer. So there'll be 8 jobs that we will at least postpone and be hiring due to attrition. There will not be any layoffs.
Yes, Chief. I just feel like I have to mention the great job too that Officer Logan and Officer Vaughn have done in my area and their presence. You just can't measure the effectiveness, but it's obvious that people like their presence. So, anything you can do, to keep that, I really appreciate. Like, short of that, is there any thought of having them in the areas where they do have a relationship with it, where they will establish relationships with some of the residents that live there? I mean, they really know these areas well, you know, that you know, they come to neighborhood meetings and they visit people periodically and do that sort of thing. You know, so I didn't know if they would still be in those areas which they're assigned to right now.
We'll do our best. Most of the CLTs came out of those with the root cause and for which the areas they now are assigned. Depending on who's been replaced in their former positions in those root causes. If we can get it in there, we certainly will. We'll do our best. And I know you're all very appreciative of the CLTs, and I know you can speak for them and also the other officers. We do appreciate the support of the councilman and the mayor. You know, we know this is tough fiscal times. We're professionals. We'll do the job as best we can. We'll do the best service we can. It's just, it's going to be tough, and I like having crime stats down because it makes us look good. Obviously, that's good for everybody. I mean, only me and even the city. And I just want to make sure that we can continue that with the resources that we have.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Fire Chief Jim McDonald, as well as Emergency Management Officer John. One more, please. Councilor John.
I've got a meeting, public hearing at Court of Appeals that I go to right now, so.
Absolutely no objection. Councilor John, you be excused. Chief, Officer Hines.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilors. I'd like to start by stating that the fire department has done its due diligence and continues to exceed its fair share of decreasing costs over the last 5 years. In my tenure as the Deputy Chief Company and now as Deputy Chief Murray since January 2012. And that's notwithstanding the efforts and the cooperation from the firefighters union in their success in accomplishing negotiations with our insurance provider for a far less costly health insurance plan that includes all departments in the city, not just the fire department. The union has also agreed to a policy where we rotate members from the daytime staff positions into the line positions in the firehouses to lower the cost of the overtime that would normally be used to fill those positions. So it has been a complete effort from both sides of the table to reduce costs for the good of the entire city's taxpayers while absorbing the normal increases that present themselves through contractual agreements and the greater cost of goods and services. As a brief overview, I'll just give you a few examples of the budget cuts that we're facing that are going to be substantial as far as our needs. Lynn fire budget, the fire department budget is increased from fiscal year 2009 to the one submitted for 2015 by $1,237,000, and that's an average of $176,000 per year for the last 7 years. The following are a few examples that we face in the budget which will present a major problem. If you have our budget in front of you, line item 0700 sick leave buyback, budget for the projected retirements in 2015. As submitted, it is cut to $30,000 from a projected need of $120,700. That's a $90,000 decrease in that line item. If and when only 2 of those projected retirees occur in 2015, that line item will be zeroed out with no further money for any continued retirements during the fiscal year 2015. We had already submitted an amount that was $8,000 less than the average of our last 4 years. Line item 0800, longevity, has been cut by $41,500 with an anticipated need by us of $891,400, so it's down to $850,000 for that item. Our submittal is $38,000 below the average for our last 4 years. 0900, line 0900, overtime, and this is a real issue. Overtime has been cut by $110,000 to $400,000 with our anticipated need of $509,000. Our submittal was $234,800 less than the average for the last 4 years and $230,000 less for fiscal 2014. We projected fire alarm operators in our fire alarm operative office will use $100,000 in overtime. That's 25% of our new overtime budget. $300,000 remaining doesn't even come close to enough funding to maintain our on-duty strength to keep fire offices open 100% of the time. There will be burnouts. There will be closed firehouses for weeks at a time. In an attempt to maintain a firefighting force, I will have to cancel all funds, overtime or otherwise, that sustain training events, fire prevention functions, juvenile fire setter program, CPR courses, public school and civic projects that we supply our EMTs for, our tactical medics, which is on overtime, and we provide medical services to the police special entry team. $400,000 was cut from our expenses side in fiscal year 2014, an additional $117,000 in 2015. So we have done our job to keep the costs down and have made significant deductions on our own to offset any increases over many years. In a conversation with some of the department members, it was stated that the fire department budget has come to be like the coffee can buried in the backyard. That can be dug up whenever someone needs a few $1,000s. Well, our backyard's a mess. I asked that the budget to be restored before it is implemented, and someone fill in the holes in our backyard. Thank you very much.
Chief, would you, how about we have Officer Ryan go as well, and then we'll just have a question for the two of you?
Okay.
Thank you. I manage the emergency management budget, and that's a smaller, so I'll be brief to get this along. Most of it is fixed cost of personnel, 84,000 plus. Overtime is spent when events occur. Emergency management nature is unpredictable, so if we have storms or incidents, that's where that expense gets used. And then 4,500 for unclassified, we use that for equipment needs, office supplies, and that nature. So that's all I have.
I'd like to also congratulate you with the national recognition for management skills, and it brings great pride to the city. Congratulations on your foundation.
Thank you.
Any questions for the chief or Officer Hines? Questions? Any questions? Seeing no questions. Thank you, Joe.
If I may, I had a conversation with Councilor Lozey earlier, and I just explained to him that part of our expenses was a appropriation for a ladder truck at Broadway. And Broadway is the Broadway station covers the section of the city that is the least covered section of the city. So they have a ladder truck up there that's in ill repair, constantly out for maintenance or repair. We've been using a spare truck that's 1995. It's 20 years old, and it has probably about 30 years of service on it, the way we run it. So if at any moment that truck goes down, and I wanted to purchase a new truck, which we need, that was cut out of my line on the budget. So there's going to be an issue with the ladder truck in Broadway before the year is up. And if I start rotating companies out of service, engine 10 and ladder 4 will be in that rotation. So there's going to be one fire company up in Broadway to cover all of Lot 1, most of Lot 2, and part of Lot 7. It's unacceptable. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Who will be presenting for the DPW? Since we have a person being sworn in later on today. Hi, Lisa.
Thank you, everyone. I've been serving in the capacity as Social Commissioner since September 2013. We have instituted monthly DPW committee meetings with the City Council and to continue to discuss DPW issues. We are ready to have on board our fourth Commissioner of the Department of Public Works in 4 years, both starting July 1st. I'm looking forward to working with Mr. Hall and the DPW committee to further our progress discussing staffing and equipment needs. The Department of Public Works is the face of the city. We are what people see, drive on, walk on in the city of Lynn. Park improvements in recent years has added to the cost of maintenance, electricity, replacement of items for these projects. New developments add to the cost of streets and sidewalks, maintenance, as do the effects of inclement weather events. I understand the current financial climate in the city of Lynn and that we have to live within the budget. So, we have about $180,000 that we're taking as a cut in our department in various divisions.
Thank you. I should have informed the council that DPW's budget's on page 70 to 75. Are there any questions for DPW? Questions or assistance? Councilor Ford.
I would just like to thank Lisa and DPW for all the work they do, short staff. Things are extremely backing up in my ward, and speaking to a couple of the other councils, and I know that too, and that's not a reflection of you. I know we need more people. And amongst ourselves, we've talked, and I think we're all on the same page. We know we need more bodies and more equipment. And so I know from my point of view, I can't speak for everyone, but I'm really prioritizing. Hopefully we can help the DPW get some equipment and some people back on the streets, because we are falling behind.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilor Sale.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Inspectional Services Director Michael Donovan. Direct your attention to page 30, council, of the budget. Floor is yours.
Good evening, councils. The inspectional services budget is comprised of three parts: the streetlight budget, the city side, and then the maintenance of the school buildings. On the streetlight side, there were cuts of $92,000, which is about 8.4% of the budget. And this would represent a haul to some of the improvements that we've been making in the traffic signal and streetlight facility. I do not anticipate that it will have a significant impact this year coming, because we put a lot of money in the past few years into the traffic signals and the streetlights, and they have been very good, the assets in very good shape. On the city side, there were cuts totaling 3.2%. These cuts were taken through various line items, office supplies, natural gas. The price of gas has come down in recent years. The buildings were able to cut some there. The HVAC line item, and some other smaller line items. There were some payroll cost increase that had to be offset by further expense cuts, but nothing significant. On the school side, there were no cuts, as the component for the school side goes towards net school spending. There were increases in the payroll line items as the custodial contract was settled city side, 8% on the streetlight side, and we should be able to manage to get through this next fiscal year with that budget.
Any questions for Director? Any questions for Director Donovan? Seeing no questions for the Director, thank you for your time. Next, we have the library. Page 84 of your packet.
So our budget is approximately $20,000 less than it was last year. We cut from the personnel side. We reduced the number of hours that our teachers work, which are the teams that help put away books, and we reduced our overtime. We have not met the municipal appropriation requirement as required by the state. We will have to apply for a waiver to remain certified and to get state funding. As long as we keep our minimum hours requirement for a city this size at 63 hours a week from Labor Day to Memorial Day, and spend 12% of our budget on materials for the coming 2 years.
Questions for our Chief Librarian? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing no questions, thank you for your time. Next up, Madam Clerk, page 14 of your budgets.
Our budget has pretty much been level funded on the payroll side. On the expense side, the line items in there are fixed costs for like trucks for the election, and there's not much I can do with that, the census. So there was just minor cuts in office supplies and stuff. Advertising is a big chunk of that budget. The license commission has been level funded. The precinct payroll has also been level funded, and that's for the payroll for the poll workers and for the setup of the equipment in the various polling locations and any other costs associated with that. And that's about it.
Any questions for Madam Clerk? Any questions for Madam Clerk? Seeing no questions for Madam Clerk, we'll move on. Mr. Solicitor, Michael Barry, page 27 of your budgets.
Thank you, Councilors. Michael Barry, City Solicitor, budget cut approximately $50,000, which represents 7% of our total budget. Thankfully, we have 85 years of experience in our 11 positions, being myself and my 2 city solicitors. So that's the easy bit to provide legal representation possibly rendered.
Any questions for the solicitor? Councilor Net.
I have a question, sir. What is our allowance?
Pursuant to the union contract, we get a auto allowance, $31.47, $325 a month.
I see that we request a lot more this year than last year.
That would be for, when do you get on? No, there's 3 of us that get auto allowance plus gasoline. So it's 325 times 12, which is 600 times 4, which would be around $15,000.
Yes,
Councilor Net, I believe the answer could be also answered. The question could be answered by our CFO, Mr. Karen.
Yes, I think the attorneys were getting the auto allowance previously, but it was part of their contractual arrangement before. We shifted the attorneys to the payroll side, because they were effectively being treated as employees. So in the budget, they're listed as on the payroll side, whereas before they were listed on the non-payroll side as contractual. But under those contracts, they were getting the auto allowance. So it's showing up now, but the bottom line is that
that's not what we thought.
I don't want to be honest with you, I think it is. I hope not, I haven't heard of any, termination notices. I sincerely hope. I hope not, it's, there's definitely being made to straighten that out.
Person that does work for the law offices, working for part-time, concerned, those who does most of the hearings, courthouse, and that's the citations that were issued, been doing that for 20 years. Is there a possibility of losing that person?
Yes, I couldn't say enough about that, as far as dedication to the city of Lynn, and what he's been able to accomplish.
So he actually generates money for the city.
Actually, recently, he generated $700,000 in a settlement with the Department of Revenue. So that's approximately our budget. So yes, I couldn't say enough about that individual.
It just seems to me that a lot of us have agreed that most of the other parts, what he thought, was asked for 3%. All the bonds that they 2%.
CFO Kevin, would you like to answer the question, Council Sir?
Yes, that was one of the higher ones that the mayor just, one of the problems is we've got a lot of money very tight, and decision was made by the mayor to reduce that budget line.
Just seemed off the funds, that 7% of that. What's the closest that one of
Probably 3 or 4%.
So 4% higher,
Yeah,
3% higher than the closest to the mile. Thank you.
Any further questions for Solicitor Barry? Councilor Calucci, what do you about this? If you'd like to state it in the form of a question of what this is. Attorney, Solicitor Barry, could you please explain the duties of the council with regards to authority to either add or subtract from the city budget?
The only time the council can add to the budget is if there's some need that has not been met. We have to notify the mayor ahead of time. We also have to delete that money from another account. Otherwise, I don't know of any way the mayor would have to initiate an increase in the law budget.
Does that answer your question, Councilor Calucci?
Right.
Plenty of time for any further questions relative to this issue? Any further questions? No further questions? Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. I'd like to call up next department we have is the parking department, Jake Fenton. Page 78 is here. Council Butler.
The parking department, which includes the van vehicles and material costs. 2014 budget compared to the proposed 2015 budget has been reduced by approximately 3%, 2% when we did our submission and the request to reduce by that percentage amount, and then subsequently approximately another 1% was reduced. Obviously, we will do the best we can to live within those reductions and continue to provide the services that we need to provide
off-street parking department. We look forward to further improvements to our city lots.
Thank you. May I add also that there are a number of steps being taken that hopefully will see the results of in this coming fiscal year with the continued automation and enhancement of the physical lots themselves, including both the operations and fitting into more of the direction that the downtown is taking from a market standpoint. Thank you.
Oh, we have one late question.
I know this is where a little money, but I just want to find out a little more. What is the rent and lease? So this is things like what is it? Rent and lease or what do we pay for?
I don't know what the exact plan we're looking at.
I'm not $200, so I just want to know what is the rent and lease?
Well, it could be for the porta potty that we have to use in the department, or it could be for a piece of equipment that we need to lease as opposed to purchase.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next department is the city council department. I can say that we cut our budget from FY14 by 2%, 4% for 2013, resulting in reductions in advertising, postage, general supplies, computer supplies, and those are our major cuts. So we're in line with the recommendations from the mayor to cut our budget by 2%. Any questions for myself? None? Move on. Treasurer's office. Mr. Fortucci. Oh, I apologize. Page 8. My fault. Floor is yours, Mr. Fortucci.
Thank you. We, for the most part, our personnel costs have remained constant for us. We've had approximately 4% cut in our expenses, which we will do our best to make do for the fiscal year. Just would caution council and council president that we're running up against increasing requirements every year with benefits, payroll reporting, W-2 reporting, and I would only want to advise everyone that as this continues, it seems to be every year that they're continuing to add to requirements, and they seem to be compounding one on top of the other. I'm concerned that within a year or two that this is going to outstrip both the capacity and the capabilities of the department. Just would be remiss if I did not at least inform everybody of that concern.
Thank you, Mr. Fortucci. Any questions for Mr. Fortucci? Any questions for Mr. Fortucci? Seeing no questions for Mr. Fortucci. Thank you for your time. We will call up Mr. Chuck White for purchasing, page 19 of your budget.
Good evening, councilors. My budget for FY2015 reflects some contractual increases in the payroll side and a 3% cut in the expense side, which we will just have to absorb and probably do.
Any questions for Mr. White? Any questions for Mr. White? We appreciate your efficiency and expediency. Thank you. Mr. Driscoll, personnel. Page 25.
Good evening. We were asked to cut 2% from our budget, which we did. Came back with a little further cut on it. Excuse me, that came from the office supplies, the workers' compensation line item, and the unemployment.
Any questions for Mr. Driscoll? Any questions for Mr. Driscoll? Seeing no questions for Mr. Driscoll. Thank you, Mr. Driscoll. We do now Mr. Cronin in the collector's office, page 10. Nice to see you, Mr. Cronin.
Well, we requested 2.5%, not
Questions for Mr. Cronin? Any questions for Mr. Cronin? Any questions for Mr. Cronin? Saying that we appreciate your time, Mr. Cronin. You're doing pretty well on time. I would like to call Mr. Steve Spencer from the Comptroller's Office. Page 6 of your budget.
Basically, we have one budget that actually was overcut due to the fact that we have obligations on the personnel side as well as the expense side from financial service contracts as well as union negotiating contracts. So all that was basically payroll, but not really.
Any questions for Mr. Spencer? Any questions for Mr. Spencer? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Mary Cronin, for veterans. We appreciate you filling in for Mr. Sweeney while he is serving our country. Any word from Mr. Sweeney?
In Afghanistan.
Any word from him?
Last week I hung up, that was it. So I said, go back. So we took the 2% cut, that's what we do.
I thought no one could be faster than your brother, Fred. You would beat him today. Proud of that. Any questions for Mrs. Cronin? Seeing none, just quickly, the celebrations for the visual parades that we have. Has that been
Take care of
okay? It's helpful for a lot of folks in the city.
Right.
Great. Further questions? Thank you. Mr. Karen? Probably page 12. Yeah, and you could do also for technology. Is there anyone here from IT? Is Peter or anybody? Oh.
My budget was basically cut 2% from last year, exactly cut 2% from last year. That excludes the CFO stipend, which obviously was not included in last year's budget. But other than that, my budget was cut 2%. We did some reductions. Mr. George Brennan is retiring at the end of the year, so we're anticipating not having to pay his longevity pay this year, but several other employees had increases in longevity this year. And we reduced our outside services by about $10,000 in order to come up with a 2% cut.
Any questions for Mr. Karen? Any questions for Mr. Karen? Any questions for Mr. Karen? Seeing no questions for Mr. Karen. IT as well as.
IT was basically the same thing. It was, they took it at the same time. In actuality, the budget will go up somewhat in the future because we are switching to a cloud-based on our Munis appraisal system, which I think a lot of departments are looking forward to. We have a number of periods in the last few months when Munis has been down. Our server is well beyond its effective years of operation. So rather than invest money in another server that will be obsolete within 2 or 3 years, we decided to go with the cloud-based Munis application, which they will host. Important thing there is that they will, if we have any kind of disaster recovery, for example, the City Hall burns down, we can just go on a computer over at the police department or somewhere else and be up and running the next morning. So all our key data and information will be stored in Maine at their facility and stored, and they will also make backups and store it offsite. So we should be in good shape going forward as far as having all our essential financial information, payroll, and human resource information will be secure and safe.
Any questions for IT specialist Karen? See none? Thank you, Karen. Next, we have Stacy from the Council on Aging. Of course, we have it here, Council for the Aged. Page 84.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, fiscal year 15, we're level funded. As you can see, we're a small, tiny budget, so level funded is good news. But, community block grants are expecting cuts. Our grants are expiring this year. The state will actually level fund us based on the census. And, but our donations that have carried us for a while are way down. So we're running at basically $80,000 annual deficit. So for city budgets, I know the public process works, and I understand the struggles. Except before you were expecting a level funding, and I always feel out of line when I tell the mayor that you don't get enough support from the city. But I'm going to give you two numbers. We have 250 operating days and 14,483 elders in the city of Lynn. So, but I'm hearing all the big number cuts for the other departments. It's very hard for me to stand up here and ask for money. But if by any chance there are any monies, I strongly ask you to consider the elders. We will still deliver their meals, and we will still remain open and find creative ways to partner up with agencies, and always be forever grateful to the list.
Any questions? Questions? Any questions? We have a couple of departments left. We have 3 before our main meeting starts. So what I would suggest is if anyone has questions for the GAR or the harbor master, if I missed any of the major departments, or the smaller departments, or any department at all, not that anyone's going to raise their hand probably this morning. So if there's any questions for the harbor master or GAR, you can have them come up here. If not, we'll break it in early to transition into our new, to the full committee here. Just a brief question actually for the department heads. Is this the preferred method as to the older way? Can I see a show of hands of those who approve this way? Everyone's hand should be really good. Oh, thank you. We appreciate your time. We know there's a lot gets put into your budgets. We know you spend a lot of time on it. And obviously this is the greatest of the budget year, so we appreciate your time and your hard work on this. Council Ford.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we break, I think there should be time for a question. Mr. Karen, I was curious, you had a little oversight on the car allowance and things for the law office. What was some of the talk when the mayor cut $180,000 from DPW? That just kills me because I'm so far behind on so many things, and I think that really hurts us. I know we can't add, but was there any conversation on how she was going to make that back?
Well, I have to look again at it's been a while since I looked at the cuts. I do know that in all the city budgets, anything that was related to capital investments, the chief's fire truck, for example, and additional equipment at DPW, we basically, those items were cut out with the understanding that things would be reviewed in December once we have our free cash and once we've resolved unnecessary spending issues to see if there's available money to fund those capital expenditures at that time.
How about hires getting away from capital expenditures for bodies?
I think, as far as I understand, it's level funded, correct, the number of positions.
Positions in the same, to add, we will have to go to, Mr. President is maybe better. Mr. President? Mr. President?
Council Ford.
Where would we begin with, if I had the support of the council, to ask for 20 more members?
Well, if you want my opinion, I think the working DPW committees we have assembled has been doing some great work trying to identify needs throughout the system. But as far as the council's authority to add the system vary, he's not here anymore.
I
indicated that we will be unable to add to the budget. So maybe a request to the mayor's office. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of requests for a lot of promise in the mayor's office for a lot of things as a result of this budget. Council Sir.
Point of information that the Commission, the Parks Commission,
workforce. So we're told that we're not replacing bodies or the equipment. Instead, we did buy 6 pickup trucks and 3 dump trucks and 2 dump trucks. But that's regular equipment, we're not going to have the bodies to drive. Especially, I don't know how we did this past year. The city is in dire need of work, roads, parks, trees, curbs, 90% of what I get calls for. Issues that people are
I was going to say, may I suggest that we go into the full meeting and then have the budget hearing following the public hearing? There'll be some time for a lot of them to maybe digest that question and come up with an answer for you, Councilor Ford. And it can be asked at the, after the public hearing for the full budget. Is that amendable? Thank you, Councilor. All right, I close the budget hearing, committee of the whole meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn, second, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We adjourn.